Today on Outside the Box Reviews, we are taking a look at an assortment of figures from the NECA Scalers Wave 1. Scalers are basically what I perceive as NECA trying to get some of that sweet, sweet Funko money and going with something that's very trendy right now and doing these small stylized figures. And their catch on it, their in the market, was to make things from properties they already have the rights to do and make them cable grabbers. So we have a selection of characters that will actually hold on to your computer cables, your headphone cords, what have you. I was very intrigued by the concept, and as I am in the process of building a new computer, I thought it would be kind of cool to grab a couple of these and adorn the new machine with it. So I grabbed 4 of the 6 offerings from Wave 1. Going from left to right, we have Jason Voorhees as seen in Part 3. We have Freddy Krueger as seen in pretty much every movie, but I'm going to guess it's also probably a Part 3. We have the alien Xenomorph of questionable movie lineage. And then we have the Part 1 original Predator. The 2 I left behind on the shelf were the Smeagol from Lord of the Rings. Not really a huge Lord of the Rings fan, so no desire for him. And Gizmo from Gremlins, who I may go back and pick up. But quite honestly, their stylization of Gizmo was a little too cutesy for me. And just for the sake of showing you the range of these guys, I have them all sitting on different cables that I had laying around my office. Jason here is on a USB cable connector for an iPod, so basically a standard USB cable, but I had a slightly thicker USB cable that I attached my Xenomorph to. Freddy is on a pair of iPhone earbuds, and he actually does not attach very well. He's a very loose fit on it. The rest of these are actually pretty solid. And the one that actually impressed me the most is the Predator here is actually on a microphone cable. This is the mic that I use when I do better audio, like on my Christmas video and stuff. And it's a much thicker cable, and he fits on there actually pretty well. So let's take a closer look at these figures and get a little more in depth with them. And going through these figures one at a time, they're all basically the same idea. They're all kind of in the same pose, unfortunately all looking the same direction. Gizmo was the only one that worked facing the other direction. All the other ones, and it seems like they're doing this for pretty much every future wave, is sitting on the right side of the cable looking forward. It's a little weird and a little obnoxious, but not too bad. The alien sculpt is very non-movie specific, which is okay for the alien. I don't think I really wanted it to be Alien 1 or Aliens, but he has the dome on here, which leads me to believe it's original Alien. It isn't knotted up like an Alien's, but it's also not really see-through. There's no hint of the skull, but I guess I didn't really expect that on this. Very black, very shiny. He's got the sharp teeth in there. All the biomechanical details, little tubes at the back, no big top piece here. The tail's very knotted looking, no blade at the end or anything. And the feet are just normal feet, no weird toes coming off the side as there are in some of the movies. Very, very simple. Now, unlike some of the other ones in the series, the entire Xenomorph, maybe outside of the head, is a little on the squishy side. These things in the back are pliable, his legs are fairly pliable, the tail, and of course the hands. The hands are the most important pliable parts. You could stretch them out to get around smaller cables, and then bigger cables just kind of have to fit through this gap that the body makes, kind of hugging on there. But a decent little sculpt. Fairly cute. You can't get too cute with the Xenomorph. I actually think it looks a little better than Funko's attempt at doing a cute Xenomorph though, so not a bad deal here. And hey, I get to review a Predator figure and not have it be Predator Week. It's kind of crazy, but this is the original Jungle Hunter Predator. Now, my biggest complaint with this is I looked back at some of the Toy Fair pictures, and in those pictures, he was a beautiful silvery metallic paint. And there's a little bit of silvery metallic going on here, but not nearly as vibrant as it was in the prototype. It would have been nice if that carried over, but no such luck. Decent sculpting on the mask, no real detail on it, but it has the vague shape. He's got the little plasma caster on his shoulder, of course the appropriate armor, the detonator on his wrist. He even has his blades sculpted and painted over here. Got his loincloth going on down there. None of the bone trophies across his body or anything like that. Very simple little feet with the little thumb claws on there. And just sculpted in lines for the netting, no actual painted netting. I'm sure you could take a paintbrush and paint these in black, but I think it gives the vague impression of it. It's not too shabby. The dreadlocks do look a little flat on him, however. Ironically, I feel like this is the one I'm probably the most picky on because I've reviewed so many Predators. So many Predators. Now with this figure, we see what the majority of these are built like. It's actually a harder plastic making up the entire body of the figure. And you can kind of see here on the hands, there's a little bit of a seam where it switches over to a more rubberized plastic where you can actually pry the hands apart to get them around the cables. So a little different in terms of construction here, but this seems to be what the majority of the figures are. The Xenomorph, I guess, just has too many things sticking off of them, and it was too dangerous to leave it all hard sculpted. Next up, we have Jason Voorhees, and this is ridiculously adorable and really goofy looking. He has a very flat head. It kind of reminds me of Charlie Brown. He's got the big old ears sticking out. There's some nice depth to the mask. The eyes are really sunken in. The mask is very clean, kind of a grayish white. It's got all the chevrons on it, all the dots, so this is definitely a Part 3 Jason. He's got his hands out here gripping, his green jacket and gray pants and black shoes. Now this is a slightly different body style than the other two. The Predator and the Xenomorph both kind of featured bare feet, and they're kind of tucked around in a way so that they could kind of sit on either side of the cable like they were climbing it, which is cool for a more animalistic character. But Jason actually has this weird kind of gap in his legs, you can see, where the cord will feed through. So he's more like he's sliding on the rope than actually using his legs to climb, which is a little more fitting for a human-style character, so I kind of like that. But it's very simple, very stylized, and pretty cute. And last up of my pickups is Freddy Krueger, and ironically when I saw this guy in promo shots, I think he was my least favorite of the bunch that I knew I was going to get. And in reality, I think he's my favorite. He's got this great grimacy expression, his eyes look really cute and sinister, just a big snarl, big old nose on him, big chin, all the burn marks. He's got his hat, which is not really all that weathered, but who cares. His sweater came out great, and then his black pants and black shoes. Same setup as Jason, where he has the little gap in between his legs so that he will slide down the cord. And then of course he has his glove. It's pretty monotone, just kind of a brownish, but then it goes into the silver claws. The only issue with this is getting it to wrap around the cables a little harder, just because you have to bypass the claws to get in there. NECA didn't skimp and make them super short, but it just does add a little extra work to get the cable in there. But not a big deal. I'm a pretty big fan of this Freddy. I think he is my favorite of the bunch.
And for anyone interested in a scale comparison, I felt it was appropriate to pair it up next to something that I've kind of been comparing it to a lot, the Funko Mystery Minifigure. Now granted, the Alien Predator, I was talking about the pop vinyls, but I figured this was a good size comparison. We of course have these guys that have been out in stores recently, and you can see NECA's are a good bit shorter, but just a rough size comparison here between two very similar lines.
And here's the Scalar family with their 7-inch counterparts. And I must say it's kind of cute to see NECA's new creations with their grown-up, more realistic versions, and kind of lets you appreciate the differences a little better. And overall, I think this is a decent little line. They're inexpensive little add-ons, and it's nothing I think I would ever try to be a completionist on. But just like a lot of the Funko stuff, and I've constantly talked about that, it's a great line to pick and choose the things that catch your fancy and things that you feel would fit in with whatever you have going on. I also think it could be a really easy way to kind of take your figures with you to places you normally couldn't. You might look a little weird if you bring in your Predator or your Jason and bring it into work with you or anything like that, but if it's just something small with your headphones or even just on one of the cables off your computer or as a zipper pull on a backpack or something like that, I think it could really be a nice little touch you could add that's nothing big and obtrusive, but just subtle and kind of put your fandom into your daily life a little more, which I'm always for. And the more I look at these things, the more I realize there's a lot of options you could put them on. Thinking about work, I was thinking I work repairing bicycles. I bet these would probably fit on bike cables. I don't know how well they'd hold on a long ride, but they probably would fit on like the brake cable housing. And they might even work well on like the pull cable for blinds or something like that, and you can raise your windows using your NECA figures. I'm intrigued with the concept, and I want to see how far NECA takes it, and I'm hoping we'll get some cool, unique versions as the line goes on. I'm already really hoping eventually we'll get Army of Darkness, Evil Dead ones, because those would be really cool. And Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden would be really cool. But what they have planned in the meantime is it looks like they are going really deep into superhero territory with their next ones. Wave 2 is announced, and we're going to get a Batman, a Joker, a Spider-Man, an Iron Man, and then the 2 non-comic book versions. We're going to get a Ape from Planet of the Apes, and I'm sure someone who's a bigger fan of that franchise than I am will probably be able to tell you which one that is, and a Knifehead from Pacific Rim, which I'm sure you know I need to have. I don't know how I feel about the superhero ones. I don't know if I'll track those down, but it is kind of nice to see NECA able to put their superhero licenses for both DC and Marvel to use other than just the giant 18-inch figures that is pretty much all they're allowed to make otherwise. And then looking at pictures from Toy Fair, it looks like they're going to hit more superheroes. I see a Superman, a Green Lantern, a Flash, a Wonder Woman, an Aquaman, so really hitting DC hard. I see another ape from Planet of the Apes definitely in the lineup here. And then I'm seeing what appears to be Gypsy Danger, and I hope it's Gypsy Danger. It also could be one of the guys from Halo, because I know they have the rights to do that in large scale as well. And then they're doing a full-on Gremlin, which is part of the reason I might go pick Gizmo back up. But I'm sure we'll see more of these if the line does well at San Diego Comic-Con this summer. But I'm going to give these guys a recommend. Nothing super strong, they're just a cute little extra thing, but they're also small and inexpensive, so no big commitment here with them. Make sure you check me out on Instagram, username Outside the Box Reviews. Also check me out on Facebook, link below. And until next time, this has been another Outside the Box Reviews. Stay tuned for more to come.